Rise for the flag salute.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A moment of silence to remember the service and sacrifices of the armed service members who protect our nation and the first responders who protect our neighborhoods. Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Here.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Here.
Councilmember Puzzio?
Here.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Here.
Councilmember Smith? Here. Councilmember Sackett?
Here.
Councilmember Kelly?
Here.
Vice President Abrahamson? Here. President Jedenak?
Here.
This meeting was advertised in the Daily Record, the official newspaper for the Township of Rockaway, on January 8, 2018. Notice was posted on the official bulletin board of Rockaway Township.
The next item on the agenda is the designation of Sergeant at Arms. Township Code 2-5.15 decorum. While the council is in session, the members shall preserve order and decorum. The council president, at his or her discretion, shall direct the chief of police or such other person in the police department as he may designate to be the sergeant of to be the sergeant of arms at the council meeting. The sergeant at arms shall employ reasonable means to maintain the proper order and decorum consistent with accepted standards. The accepted standard is that, I don't see the chief here. Is that correct? Police chief is not present. Is there another officer here who will be serving as the Sergeant at Arms? Captain Ryerson, will that be you for this evening?
That's correct.
Okay. The accepted standard is that members of the audience are asked to keep their volume to an inaudible level so that business can be conducted and so that those who are speaking can be clearly heard. If an individual becomes audible, the Sergeant at Arms is expected to ask the individual to reduce their volume to an inaudible level or ask the individual to leave the meeting room as necessary. Thank you. Before we proceed with the minutes, I have a statement that I'm going to read. When the venue canceled the arrangement, the township was nevertheless able to accommodate over 300 attendees by arranging for crowd control, public comment, sign-up sheets, and video feeds. Notwithstanding the ability to arrange for appropriate accommodations well in advance of the meeting, the township created its own sense of urgency through a failure to plan properly. Given the stakes, the township would most likely have been able to successfully accommodate all attendees in the council chambers with careful planning and without changing the usual meeting place and time for the council meetings. That is a quote from Judge Minkowitz from his October 1st ruling. That's what I'm quoting from. When Acting Council President Abrahamson scheduled the September 14th special meeting after the last minute and unexpected cancellation of the venue previously confirmed for the September 13th regular meeting, this council acted in a manner that it thought was in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law. The September 14th meeting was not hidden, as evidenced by 300 people who attended and the ample coverage by multiple news organizations. Today, meaning today, the courts have affirmed that the law as written is not as it will be interpreted. I thought that this open issue of law was an important one to bring to the court's attention, and while today's ruling is not precedential, we certainly know how these judges will rule on matters like this. And so we now have clear direction on how to comply. Going forward, we will schedule all meetings in accordance with the manner described by Judge Minkowitz. Additionally, given Judge Minkowitz's specific comments regarding the venue change, as I quoted above previously, we will be adhering to the protocol for holding meetings at the municipal building, that was developed as a result of the unexpected venue cancellation, and we will expect the administration to be cooperative in adherence to that protocol. Next on the agenda, we have approval of the minutes. We have items A through D. A is June 26th regular meeting. B is the August 7th regular meeting. C is the August 22nd special meeting. D is August 22nd closed session. Closed session minutes were provided to those members of the council who actually attended that closed session. They'll be made available to all council members after they've been voted upon and adopted. I will move the regular meeting minutes of June 26th. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Abrahamson. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn,
Seeing that I do not have the 26th meeting minutes, I will not vote on it. I'll abstain.
Clerk, were the minutes, draft minutes of the June 26th meeting provided to all council members in advance of this meeting?
they were emailed to the council last night.
Okay, thank you. Clerk, please continue with the roll.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Puzo,
No.
Councilmember Palumbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson,
Yes.
President Jedenek.
Yes. I will now move the August 7th regular meeting minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Smith. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Puzo,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson,
Yes.
President Jedenek.
Yes. I will move the August 22nd special meeting minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Kelly. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn,
Seeing I did not get the minutes, I will abstain.
Councilmember Friedlander,
No.
Councilmember Puzo,
No.
Councilmember Palumbo,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
No.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson,
Yes.
President Jedenek.
Yes. I will move the August 22nd closed session minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Item D
Yes.
on the agenda. Seconded by Abrahamson. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President, I don't have,
Roll call.
I never had I don't have a copy of it.
As I stated earlier, the closed session minutes were provided to those members of the council who attended the closed session, which is typically how we handle closed session minutes. They'll be provided to they'll be provided to the council after it's been adopted. Okay, excuse me. That, what I just described is the normal protocol for closed session minutes. The members who attended have a copy of the draft. They review the draft. It's then placed on the agenda for adoption. Once it's been adopted, it can be made available to the other members, provided the issue has been closed. So, clerk, please continue with the roll.
Councilmember Quinn,
Again, I have not gotten those minutes. I will not vote on it. I'll abstain.
Councilmember Friedlander,
If you can't read it, you can't vote on it. No.
Councilmember Puzo,
No.
Councilmember Palumbo, Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett,
I guess we make the rules up as we go along. So we have the minutes for the 22nd, but I can't have the closed
Councilmember
session.
Sackett, if you
I can't
continue
have
to
the
do that,
closed session.
Councilmember Sackett,
I asked.
Councilmember Sackett, we are in the roll call. If you don't cast a vote, we'll consider you as having abstained.
Mr. Transparency.
Mr. Sackett, I answered the question in the middle of a roll call, Mr. Sackett. Clerk, please count Mr. Sackett as having abstained on this and continue with the roll.
Recognize people so we can talk. Okay, you know, you don't even give me the minutes. I can't even see them. I can't see anything.
Continue with the roll, please.
It's a joke.
Councilmember
You're a
Kelly.
joke.
Councilmember Kelly.
And I'm going to take just a second. I am one of the 5 that attended the closed session meeting.
Councilmember Kelly, we are in the middle of a roll call. Councilmember Kelly, you either vote, thank you.
Vice President Abrahamson.
We're in the middle of a roll call. No, then.
Recall.
As being part of the closed session and having those minutes, I vote yes.
President Jenanak.
Yes. All the minutes have been passed.
What was Tucker's vote? I didn't hear.
Next on the agenda, we have,
Council President.
excuse me, you'll have an opportunity to speak later. You're not recognized, Mr. Puzio.
It's my 3rd time.
Mr. Puzio, you're not recognized.
Point of order.
You are not, for the 3rd time, you're not recognized.
Very
We are on
simple.
council,
What I wanna ask-
excuse me, Mr. Puzio, Mr. Puzio, you are not recognized. We are on council appointments. We are on council appointments. We are voting on item B. Excuse me.
Following Robert's rules.
We are on item B.
Body elected.
Robert's rules requires you to be recognized.
As an elected body.
It requires you to be
To add
recognized,
2
Councilman
items
Puzio. You're not
To
recognized. Councilman
and I'm being
Puzio,
denied.
you are not
Very simple,
recognized.
nothing controversial, something that we can all vote as 9
Councilman
members.
Puzio, you are not
Mr.
recognized.
Jeniak, continue to gavel
with the
over
meeting
me.
despite-
It's
despite
about the
your
appointment
disruption.
of a business
We are on
administrator
council appointments.
and Allison
We have
Ferrante, who was
EMT
appointed at the
Gabriela
appointed
Rodriguez,
September
and Junior
14th
Fireman's
meeting.
Auxiliary, Anna Roque, and I am moving.
Thank
Is
you.
there a second?
Can we take a vote? Can we
there a
take a vote,
second?
Ms. Clifford?
Robert's Rules of Order requires you to recognize us.
We are
for
on the
actual
council
concerns.
appointment section. Is there a
For a
second?
second.
Read what Robert's
Seconded
rules say.
by
Mr.
Abrahamson.
Mr.
Please continue.
Giacomo.
Roll call,
Am I
please.
following Robert's rules correctly?
According to the copy of Robert.
Excuse me, you're not recognized.
You are.
Listen. Mr. Jeniak.
Excuse me, you are not recognized.
Maybe you need a gavel in each hand.
You're not entitled to the floor, and you're not recognized.
I'm not trying to delay the meeting. I just want to have something added to the agenda.
Excuse me, you're not recognized to speak. Have a seat so we can continue.
Following Robert's rules.
Councilmember Quinn.
11th edition. You follow Robert's rules,
Councilmember
Council
Quinn.
President.
Come on, Mike, we want to
This is
hear
nothing
I
controversial.
can't hear anything.
I'm trying to put on to add something to
Please
the
continue
agenda
with the roll.
that the mayor requested, the appointment of the
Councilmember
business
Quinn.
administrator and the appointment of a town engineer. Nothing controversial.
You're not recognized.
You can vote it
Please,
down if you
please
want.
stop.
Well,
You are
can
not
vote it down if you
recognized.
want. I'm recognizing myself.
You don't get to recognize
I
yourself.
seconded it.
You don't get to. Neither of you has the floor. Please continue with the roll call we have.
Putting a motion on the floor to add these 2 items to the agenda.
We
so
have
vote
a
can be
motion
taken.
on the floor for council appointments. We have a second. That is what the
I called
clerk is
point of
calling the
order.
roll for.
I called point of order.
You are not recognized. Thank you.
I did it 3 times according to Robert's rules. You like Robert's rules.
Councilmember Quinn.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Councilmember
Ridiculous.
Friedlander.
Sergeant at arms?
Very, very simple, folks. This is nothing controversial.
Please stop disrupting our meeting.
disrupting the
Allow the
meeting.
clerk to call the roll.
You're disrupting the meeting by not allowing
Councilmember
me to go
Friedlander.
forward. You're disrupting public business.
Councilmember Friedlander, your vote is being asked. Council,
Yes.
thank you.
Ridiculous.
Councilmember Puccio.
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo. Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett.
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly.
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson. Yes. President Jedenak.
Yes, motion carries.
Point of order.
It doesn't matter if we're Robert.
Excuse me, you're not recognized to speak. If you speak out again, you'll be asked to leave.
I don't think so.
Please remove Mrs. Gregg. It's just, I already warned her.
Please remove Mrs. Gregg.
Oh, no.
I highly doubt it.
Oh, no. Point of
Sergeant at
order.
Arms,
Point
please
of
remove
order.
her. She's been warned and she continues to speak
Point of
out.
order by law. I have the law on my side, Jeremy. You have to follow the law.
Please continue, Sergeant at Arms.
obstructing my civil
Please remove
rights.
Mrs. Gregg from the meeting.
He wants me to leave because he won't allow me to speak.
Ms. Gregg.
He did it to me.
Mr. Puccio, you are not recognized to speak.
No one's recognized. Simple process, voted down.
Excuse me, Mr. Puccio, you're still not recognized to speak.
Jeremy, stop it with the recognize to speak. It's getting old. Let's treat each other with respect.
Mr.
Add things
Puccio,
to
be
the
respectful
agenda.
of the process that we
I am
have.
respectful of the process. I'm respectful of Robert. I don't have a problem getting
Excuse me,
voted
Mr.
down.
Puccio.
I never did. I have a problem with not being allowed to
You have a
speak.
problem not adhering to the rules that we
Kelly.
have. Excuse me,
It's
Mr.
inappropriate.
Puccio.
Listen,
You made your point.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
No,
you.
Mr.
Thank you.
Jedenak. Thank you.
Mr. Kelly.
Thank you.
I'm going to read this from our code. Township Code 2-5.1, governing rules, questions of order, methods of organization, and the conduct of business of the Rockaway Township Council shall be determined by the council president, who, at his discretion, may choose to have any matter issue concerning questions of order, methods of organization, and conduct of business determined by majority vote of the council. That is, you voted for this. You voted to put these words in the code, Mr. Puccio. You should know them better than anyone, yet you ignore that.
I'm asking
Read
for a
the
little
code.
flexibility.
Read the code, Mr.
asking for
Puccio. Read the code.
You both made your
The code is clear, Mr. Puccio. Questions of order determined by the council president.
Mr. Jedenak, can we please move
Mr.
forward?
Kelly, you also are not recognized to speak. Please set a better example for Mr. Puccio.
We don't need examples set for us.
Do need an
We don't
example,
need
Mr.
examples
Puccio.
set for us. We can
The
debate.
code is clear, Mr. Puccio.
It's not clear to me.
Then read it, Mr. Puccio. Read,
Robert's Rules, 11th
here's the
edition.
code, it's online.
Let's
Read it,
just
Mr.
move forward.
Puccio.
Let's just move
Mr.
forward.
Puccio,
Thank you. Let's just move forward. Continue.
Let him speak.
item number 9, resolutions of the meeting September 14th. We have resolutions R, well, I'm going to do these one at a time. I move resolution R18-147. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Abrahamson.
Is there discussion?
Excuse me, Mr. Puccio. Motion by Jedenak, second by Abrahamson. Is there any discussion on resolution R18-147?
Mr. Sackett.
Mr. Sackett.
Defer to Mike for 1 second, please.
If there's no discussion, we'll move to.
There is. You just need to say.
We'll- Mr. Puccio, do you have discussion on this item?
I do. Why are the minutes being amended? What are for the public's benefit, what are the changes?
So, Mr. Puccio, you got a copy of the resolution 2 meetings ago. I read the meeting minutes of January 2nd. I listened to the audio. The minutes don't reflect the audio and what took place at that meeting as well as they could. And the purpose of this is to clarify that.
I also received an opinion from the attorney today that we all received.
Right.
So I would like for you to explain that opinion or have Mr. Yachty.
I'm not going to explain the opinion. Is there any other discussion on this? Mr. Sackett?
Since we are going back to the past, January, I guess we're in a time machine here. in our council meetings, we'll have to go back in the past. It says in the beginning of your 18-147, we held our annual reorganization meeting during which it voted 6-3 against the appointment of Jacofano Crone as Township Attorney. I want to officially change my vote from that meeting since we're going back. Yes, we're going back in time.
Do you have any other discussion, Mr. Sackett?
That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Sackett.
I'm changing
Is there
my vote.
any other discussion?
No more 6-3, please.
Hearing
Change it to 5-4.
hearing no other discussion, clerk, please call the roll on Resolution R18-147.
That's the amended.
Councilmember Quinn?
No.
Councilmember Friedlander?
No.
Councilmember Puzio?
No.
Councilmember Palumbo? Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
I'm not sure how we can vote on this. I just changed my vote. from 6-3 to 5-4.
Councilmember Sackett, you know, Councilmember Sackett, just for the record, Councilmember Sackett, we are voting. You can vote yes, you can vote no, you can abstain, but for the record, you cannot change your vote for the January 2nd meeting. Thank you.
You're changing history. We can all.
We're clarifying the minutes to better reflect what actually took place at the meeting, which you just confirmed what took place. Thank you. You can vote.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedenak?
Yes, motion carries. Next on the agenda is Resolution R-18-148. I will move it. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Puzio. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Puzio?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo? Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedenak?
Yes, motion carries. Next on the agenda, we have Resolution R-18-149. I will move it. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Puzio. Clerk, is there any discussion on Resolution R-18-149? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Puzio?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo? Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedenak?
Yes, motion carries. Next on the agenda is Resolution R-18-150. I will move it. Is there a second? Seconded by Smith. Is there any discussion on 150? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Puzio?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo? Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedenak?
Yes, motion carries. Next on the agenda is Resolution R-18-152. I will move it. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Abrahamson. Is there any discussion on 152? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Puzio?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo? Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedenak?
Yes, motion carries. Next on the agenda is Resolution R-18-153. I will move it. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Friedlander. Is there any discussion on Resolution 153? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Puzio?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo? Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedenak?
Yes, motion carries. Next resolution is R18-154. I will move it. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Puzio. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Puzio?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo? Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedenak?
Yes, motion carries. Next on the agenda is Resolution R18-155. I will move it. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Friedlander. Is there any discussion on 155? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Puzio?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo? Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedenak?
Yes, motion carries. Next is Resolution R-18-156. I will move it. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Smith. Is there any discussion on 156? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Puzio?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo? Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedenak?
Yes, motion carries. Next is Resolution R-18-157. I will move it. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Puzio. Is there any discussion on 157? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Puzio?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo? Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedenak?
Yes, motion carries. Next is Resolution R-18-158. I'll move it. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Friedlander. Is there any discussion on 158? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Puzio?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo? Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedenak?
Yes, motion carries. Next is Resolution R-18-163. I will move it. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Smith. Is there any discussion on 163? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Puzio?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo? Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedenak?
Yes, motion carries. Next is Resolution R-18-164. I will move it. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Smith. Is there any discussion on 164?
Council President,
Councilmember Kelly?
with regard to the Richard Vine road improvements, is this where, by the corner of Tilo and Richard Vine, with regard to the water inflection that they have issues with?
Can't hear. Use the mic.
The question for Mr. Kelly is the location. The question for Mr. Kelly
I can repeat it.
is the location of this. I'm going to confirm it right now for you from the resolution text. Councilman Kelly, reviewing the resolution text, it doesn't specify the nearest intersection, so I will defer to you. Is there anyone in the administration who can answer that question for Mr. Kelly?
Yes, Allison.
If you would, please.
Hello? Yes. This project is going to be taking place between Coburn and just below Rock Hollow. There has been reported drainage issues in the area.
Okay, right where the speed bump area are on Richard Mine Road.
Correct.
In that section there. And this is something that's going to, because the people there have been having an ongoing problem for a very long time. And is this to be believed that this is going to remediate the water issues that are going on? I mean, there are some homes that will get filled with water to their, 4 or 5 feet in their basement. And I just want to make sure that this is, definitely going to address and eliminate, hopefully, 100% of the water issue that's there.
That is our goal with the
Okay.
project.
Okay, great, that's all. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on Resolution 164? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
I'll abstain.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Puzio?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedenak?
Yes, motion passes. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have resolutions R-18-165, resolutions R-18-176, and resolution R-18-177. I will move it. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Abrahamson. Clerk, please call the roll on the consent agenda.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Puzio?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedenak?
Yes. Consent agenda is passed. We have no items under new business. We'll move on to reports. Councilmember Quinn, your report, please.
Yes, I attended the recreation meeting and we discussed multiple items that will be coming before this board eventually. As soon as money is allocated for an architect, they will do the drawings that are needed for the basketball courts. The other thing that I attended with Councilman Puzio was the Board of Ed meeting, and they do not have a contract yet for the teachers. And I'll let Mr. Puzio discuss the rest of the meeting. It was a good meeting. It was well received and well done. And then lastly, I attended soccer up on Green Pond. My grandkids play. And as I'm going up there, I noticed that there is some houses that are in disarray and high grass. So I am going to ask administration to look into the property maintenance. We have a group that does that, I know I make that call, especially on Mount Pleasant and Mount Hope. There is a house in my ward that has that problem. So any of the houses that are in disarray should be checked and summoned. Thank you.
Can I ask one question, Mr. Quinn?
Sure.
Councilmember Kelly.
The rec meeting that you had, that you talked to, again, since I had a meeting with the basketball. I'm sorry.
Give that a microphone.
The basketball committee, we were going over the concept plan for the basketball courts, as you had mentioned before, trying to find an architect. But that's actually what we have already with K&K. I don't know if you had reached out to Mr. Coward. I had reached out and got a response back from him in relation. They were still waiting on the concept plans that were going to be two components of that under task 2 of the contract, which was dated back in September 30th of 2016. So we haven't had a confirmed amount for the cost of that to actually allocate that money for the next year's budget yet. And we haven't received those concept plans. I know that I believe it was Redline. Maybe Mrs. Ferrante can assist with that.
Is there a question for the administration?
Well, I don't know if Mr. Quinn had any information from what you discussed. In addition to what I had discussed, yeah, there was $4,000 of a fee that we had paid towards K&K that we're being billed for. And I didn't know if you had any additional information as far as that goes.
Well, there is no basketball committee. You met with the boys' basketball group. There is no committee. The only committee is the Citizens Rockaway Recreation Committee.
Which is an enforcement.
They are part of that group, okay? That gentleman did come to our meeting and explain that you did go, but it is part of the boys' basketball program. Girls' basketball has their own program. They're not committees. So there is only one. And yes, we are waiting for any information to come forward. We did discuss the boys' basketball concerns, as did you. And we are still waiting for the concept drawings with the monies that would be allocated to get the final drawings to move forward.
And the rec committee, just so we're under the right to say it, they're just really an enforcement group. They don't make decisions about architectural plans and designs and whatnot. They enforce the actual code of conduct.
They actually enforce the code of conduct, but they also tried to get input from all the programs that are out there to consolidate and put everybody on the same page. That's what the rec committee is there for, not individual groups. It's there. We have liaisons to every program that's out there.
Yeah, we had reached out when we spoke with the basketball group, was to try to get each member from each sport organization to pull together to come up with ideas to do that. I haven't received anybody as far as a list of those people. But even then, in reviewing the code, the committee that you're referencing to that you met with is strictly for enforcement of the code of conduct. I haven't seen anything else that otherwise that says that. There may be discussions of that, but they are not the individuals or group that decide the planning and moving forward with architectural plans and concept plans. That would be engineering, correct?
Correct,
Okay.
with
Nothing
input
more.
from the basketball and the rec committee.
Thank you.
Councilman Kelly, if you have any other related questions, you can ask them or bring them up under your report. Next is Councilmember Friedlander. Your report, please.
Okay, library settled their contract with their employees. Nothing doing with the Regional Board of Ed. I just want to know, is Mr. Sheard here? I didn't see him. No? No. I just want to thank the DPW for drove around White Meadow, they paved, great job in White Meadow. And there's an issue that I want to reach out to you, if you go through administration, on Meriden Road. There's some nasty spots that were filled, potholes, so if you can do that, I'd like to find out about it.
There's an email regarding the Meriden Road potholes by Mr. Kelly to the administration today, as I understand it.
I'll follow up, Mr.
And Mr. Kelly can perhaps
I'll follow up on
discuss
that,
that.
Mr. Freeland.
Okay, because I was emailed, and I figured I'd wait for the meeting.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that in my report.
Mr. Freelander, do you have anything else?
No, that's it.
Next is Councilmember Puzia.
Last year, last meeting, we had a very powerful speech by, I don't know if she's here tonight, Mama Bear, someone said, is she here? Kim? She brought up a couple good points, and that I took to heart, that what is the town council, what are we doing to battle opioid addiction, bullying, and I have some good news. Last year, prior to you coming to the meeting, this is going back, I would say about a year ago, I'm a former law enforcement agent. I formerly worked with the sheriff's office. So what I always tried to do is, and I was on the Board of Ed for 12 years, I've always had a good relationship with the Board of Education. That's where I came from. And I've always believed that education programs are the way to combat things. And that's the best way that I know how, is to try to use my resources to do that. Last year I attended a training for a program called LEAD, which Miss Abrahamson was our former DARE instructor throughout the district when she was with Rockaway PD. So she's a little bit familiar with LEAD. And I feel felt it was a better program after going to the training. It's more relevant. It deals with the social. It deals with social issues. It deals with drug addiction. We know Rockaway Township is no stranger to that, as the country is. So what did I try to do? I tried to get together with our police chief, our mayor, our council people, and try to put something together. Try to bring a program, bring LEAD to the Board of Education. Well, we did that last year. I had one of the state directors come out, and the former chief of detectives, William Chavella, who's on the board of LEAD, and give a presentation to the school board. They were very receptive last year, and they had a little bit of a change of administration, so it lagged a little bit, as government does sometimes. But I attended the Board of Ed meeting yesterday with Jack Quinn, with Councilman Quinn, and they are working on working that into their curriculum now. So it's very positive. They have materials now. They've been in contact with the director from the state. We kind of put the council, Councilman Quinn, we all kind of agreed to put together, put everybody in one room, and now it looks like, not right now, but they're working on it in the near future in adopting LEAD as their new program, and they're going to be working with the police department to do that. The second thing that I wanted to mention...
Would you maybe explain what the acronym LEAD is?
LEAD is Law Enforcement Against Drugs. It's similar to a DARE program, where it's an educational-based program, but what they've done is they've revamped it, where they've made more of the topics in the curricula more relevant to what's going on today. It deals with bullying, it deals with drug abuse, social and emotional issues. They try to treat and train the whole entire child, and with the hopes that it'll help them make good choices, positive choices. Because once someone's addicted to drugs, it's very hard to get them off of it. But if we could keep them from going down that path as young children, making the right choices. So you change culture a little bit at a time. It doesn't happen overnight, but with programs like these, we have hope that things can change. The other thing that I wanted to mention is you hear me talking about Stop the Bleed program. Dr. Rosenberg approached me one day. I was actually at the car wash. He calls me up. He says, I got a great program for you. So I said, let's talk. So we brought that program to Copeland. It's a program about bleeding control for the average person, for the lay person. If there's a mass shooting, if there's it doesn't have to be just for mass casualties, but if there's an accident, teaches people how to apply tourniquets, control bleeding for the lay person, because sometimes it takes a couple minutes for the police, for law enforcement to get there, or EMS. So if you're on scene, you can use these techniques to save a life. Well, out of that program, there were two girls who decided to go out and try to fundraise and make money so they could put these tourniquets and kits in the school system. And they partnered up. They contacted the RTEA, the Rockaway Township Education Association, and I'm happy to say they got a grant, a $5,000 grant. $5,000. It's hard to get any money nowadays, and they got $5,000 grant. With that grant, they're going to contact Dr. Rosenberg, they're going to buy the kits, and hopefully all the schools in Rockaway Township will be outfitted with these tourniquets. And there's going to be training, more training for our teachers to follow. So out of that small seed, my trip to the car wash and Dr. Rosenberg contacting us, it was some good stuff came out of it. So that's my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Puccio. Next is Councilmember Palumbo.
No report,
Thank you. Councilmember Smith.
Well, I was hoping to report on the pre-construction meeting, but it's for the Richard Mine Road section, but it's rescheduled till tomorrow night, so next meeting I'll have. Can't hear you. I'm sure Allison maybe elaborate on it. I was hoping to report on the pre-construction meeting for the Richard Mine Road drainage problem, but it was moved till tomorrow, so we'll have to report on it next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. Next is Councilmember Sackett.
Just a few things. I attended the flu clinic today here. They're having it one more time next week, so a good thing in town. Bring your kids, it's a free clinic, so that's also next Thursday, the 18th. They're having the Halloween festival, the trunk or treat, coming up at Dwyer School on October 27th, 3 to 5 o'clock. I was at the Chamber of Commerce meeting on the 28th, and I'm just wondering where ordinance 18-18 is, because we passed it last meeting, but all of a sudden it's not on the agenda tonight. So I was just wondering, as part of our report, why we don't have the ordinance that was passed last meeting on the agenda tonight. That's my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Sackett. The ordinances are noticed for the next meeting.
Oh, okay.
Next is Councilmember Kelly.
Thank you, Council President. Just to follow up on Mr. Puccio, if we could reach out to Sheriff Gannon from Hope One. Sure. To see if there could be some participation of what you're talking about with LEAD and Stop the Bleed. You know, I know he's more into the LEAD end of it, but he's been a vital component with his mobile service going around. I don't believe you were there, but I'm sure you intended to be there, was the summit that we had to go over there, and there were some things and there was some questioning that I had asked with regard to that. I know that Mama Bear in the audience didn't realize, but we had lost a couple of people in Rockaway recently. One of them I knew extremely well. Another one that was a close neighbor I had assisted a week prior, and there were some issues there. And unfortunately, he was succumbed to his disease. And another neighbor is actually battling it every single day, doing the methadone clinic right now. And they are very good people that just have some issues that it's a demon that they have that they're trying to resolve. So
just so you know, I know that they do a bleeding control at the county. The OEM has done that already.
Yeah. And even, I don't know if those kits that you're talking about would be something that we would utilize here,
yeah.
Even though we have police down below, but any of our employees that can help out with that as well.
Sure. Jumping
On to Mr. Freelander, from a concern that we both received in regards to some residents that were up there. There were a few residents with the Meriden Road. And there's a section of Meriden Road from Archer Drive to Moore Drive. There's a section that is very dilapidated, potholes. I did go up there this morning from the email that I received last night. I took photographs as well, submitted them to Mr. Sheard as well as Mr. Knopf, and they're going to act upon that. But I also reminded the residents that we are very proactive of our roads, and because of the weather that we've been having for this whole entire summer, it's been somewhat a deterrent to do those repairs and even some main paving because of the rain. It's something you can't do. So Mr. Sheard is working on that. And then there was another issue that was dealing with the intersection of Meriden Road and Green Pond Road. And there was a couple components with that, but I've also been reaching out with the county to address those concerns as well, and I'll follow up with you with that.
Yeah, I spoke to the chief on that, so which is a county issue.
Well, the chief isn't really much of it.
No,
it's really
but
more, it's a county road.
It's a county road.
Yeah. But I will follow up with you on that. So we have the patchwork that's there, Mr. Puccio with the Hope One. Another issue today, Mrs. Ferrante, with regard to 141 Elm Street. That's been an ongoing problem for close to almost 2 years now, developing from a section of a catch basin to catch basin from the properties that are there on 141. and it's been an ongoing a jetter attempt to clean it out. We finally went through Denville to get a camera system down there and found out that it's not some of what was originally thought of being a pipe from a fence going through a sewer that's clogging this drain. It's actually the roots from 138 Birch Street that have gone into the separation of the concrete pipes that lead from catch basin to catch basin. So I do understand that we don't have the equipment to actually do an auger setup on that, but we can borrow that from another town. I believe it would be Denville. But the amount of time that we've invested into this rear yard project from the easement that we have with Rockaway Township with this sewer drainage issue, it's creating a significant amount of damage in that woman's home. And we've been very fortunate it hasn't flooded the basement out, but the actual leaders are actually backflowing from the pressure within the basin where the leaders are tied into, are actually coming out from the house from that amount of pressure. And I'm just thinking of all the work that we've been doing in the past on this, just to replace the section of pipe, which is roughly 40 to 50 feet. I mean, I don't want to do a patch job on this. If there's a way we can alleviate this problem once and for all, if that's something that we can look into. And I know the administration's been involved with it, but again, today, and Mrs. Riley's got a huge concern, rightfully so, in that area. So if we can just somewhat figure a plan rather than we've been kind of wasting a lot of time and money where we could have just replaced that section of pipe, maybe alleviate it for forever of that issue. I have a question on police cars over at the recycling. Through the weekend, I noticed that there was several police cars tucked away behind our sheds over here that I believe maybe are either taken off the road or ready for auction. Does the administration have any knowledge about those police cars and what they're doing over there?
I will check into it.
And if they are ready for an auction, a potential auction, if we can set up an auction, maybe moving forward with that.
An auction is being set up by Mrs. Clipperton and Al at the DPW, right, by the end of November?
Are we going to do an actual physical auction or potentially a Gov Deals auction?
I think a Gov Deals.
Good, good. And then the two last things, I apologize for the length. The 20th, we have our fire meeting, I'm sorry, the inspection and the celebratory dinner afterwards. So I just hope that everybody's there for that inspection. Our fire department's really put a lot of time into maintaining the equipment, the building, and it's a great ability that they have to save lives, and it's a special moment for them. So if we can all attend, that would be great. And then lastly would be maybe if Mr. Ingles Yetrafano, sorry. If Mr. Yetrafano has come up with any kind of information regarding the Beaubierville. I had read some of your comments in the paper, and moving forward with that sewer line and the amount of money that we're trying to collect out of that, of the 1.4 mil, and you having that since 2016, have we gone to a direction at all with that, Mr. Yetrafano?
So on that topic, if I just may add, we were promised a report from the administration regarding that. You haven't received anything yet, Mr. Kelly, have you?
No, that's why I'm asking Mr.
No, but
Yetrafano.
I didn't give you a date on when I would have the report. I was working on it.
And is there a date in mind for when that report might be provided?
Not yet. Not yet. I have the sewer maintenance fees that you asked for the last year.
For those individuals that are connected to that line?
No, just for the year you asked about the cost of the sewer rates that we have for the last years. You asked how if they've gone up. Someone asked that and we looked it up.
Is there?
Yeah, we knew that. Well, we were still
Okay.
less than our neighboring towns as far as that goes. Mrs.
Yes.
Palmieri commented at that last year.
Right, but someone asked for them at the last meeting and I was provided with them if you want.
Is there anything preventing you from emailing those to the council?
Nothing is preventing me from emailing.
Okay, so if you would please email those to the council.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
So do we have an anticipated time frame, Mrs. Seeger, in regards to, like, I don't even know what the report would be. I mean, there's just a motion that goes through with an ordinance, assessment, evaluation, open to the public.
From what I gather, it's very complicated, and since it's been since 1995, I have a little research to do with the attorney and with the assessor, and as soon as we have a conclusion, we will let you know.
Okay.
Is there any
Next time the council wants a report from the township attorney, it'd be nice if they send him the request.
Well,
Excuse me. Mr. Kelly, would you like the report that was requested?
I didn't know that we needed to go to the attorney for the report. I just wanted to know what status we had.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
Mr. Kelly, we were promised the report by the administration. They volunteered to do it. Clearly, we're being told here tonight that that is not going to be honored and that we need to now request it.
Excuse me, I didn't say I wouldn't honor it. I didn't give you a date when I would report it, but I am working on it.
When do you expect to provide it?
I told you I could not give that to you
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
But if I may, though.
Mr. Kelly,
and I'm
continue.
sorry, Mr. Seeger.
That's okay.
But the necessary requirement for this report, I would rather see the time go into resolving the issue rather than, once you resolve it, we'll know what the problem was. It's just that since '93, and then we had another section in '98, '99, we had another ordinance in 2004, adding additional property. So this has been an ongoing motion to come to where we're at right now, and even most recently, because of the subdivisions and the adding of the additional properties from the 67 to 73 properties, the confirmation that Dover has not had anybody commit to the DER line, which would be a reason for people not to pay the assessment, alluding that they were connected to Dover when in fact the record shows that they're not. What more do we need in order to move forward? We need to have an ordinance drafted and modified. We would then need to have it open to the public in order for those people who are going to be potentially connected to that sewer and have to pay a sewer assessment fee. What else do we need?
I'm waiting for a full report from the attorney who is working on it, and a few attorneys were working on it, and I'm not as privy as you are back to 1993.
Who are the
and I'm
attorneys that
catching
are
up.
working on it?
Excuse me?
Who are the attorneys that you sent it to?
I didn't send it to anybody.
You just said that you're waiting on the attorneys.
I'm waiting on, I said many attorneys worked on it, but I am waiting for a report from the attorney,
What attorney is that?
Mr. Achafano.
Okay. And you asked him for that information?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Mr. Kelly, for those who might not be aware of the context of this conversation, can you talk a little bit about what it is we're talking about and the dollar amounts that are involved? Mr. Kelly.
I mean, I believe the public is aware of it.
What is the
That's
dollar
going on.
amount that's outstanding?
It's $1,375,000 that have been bonded and being paid for by taxpayers who aren't even a benefit of that line.
For a project that started 25 years ago?
Correct.
And most of these projects are paid off in a 20-year time frame?
Yeah, I myself was a part of a project where I paid the assessment after I had purchased the property from the assessment from prior. So I mean, I know the system and what it went through. I chose to pay immediately rather than pay interest on it over a 20-year period for that interest rate and that fee. So I don't know how difficult it was, because this isn't our first rodeo with doing an assessed line, applying the assessment for those that benefit from it, that actually enhances the value of their properties. I don't know if people realize, when you have sewer, you can do so much more with your property, and that's why it's more of a benefit. People in White Meadow Lake that had to go through those sewer assessments, even after they had just installed a septic system to get a CO, they had to condemn that system because the sewer was available and they had to connect within 180 days as per the code. And I think it's discriminatory to those people that had to do it. They spent tens of thousands of dollars and then tens of thousands of more to connect to that sewer line. But yet now we have 73 properties that aren't paying the fair share towards it, and others that don't benefit from are. And I just think it's completely unfair. And we have a council member that is on that line and is for some reason being very quiet about it. And it's troubling to me, Mr. Quinn.
Well, it's good it's troubling to you, but I have nothing to do with that. That is an administrative issue that should have been taken care of.
So Mr. Kelly, can you direct the comments over here?
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kelly, we have.
It's not.
Excuse me, Mr. Kelly, so we have about $1.3 million that's been spent over a 25-year period by those who aren't benefiting from the service of the sewers, to the benefit of those who are benefiting from those sewers that have been installed. Well, with regard to so what we've determined is that the acting VA has requested a report from the attorney are you interested in a copy of that report, Mr. Kelly?
I mean, if it's available and she's doing it on her own, I didn't ask the attorney. I don't believe anybody in this council did.
Mr. Kelly, once that report becomes available to the acting business administrator, would you like a copy of that report?
I would, thank you.
Then I would too. I will make the motion.
I think everybody should get it, not just me.
Yes, the entire council. So I will make the motion that once that report, so for the benefit of the clerk who's writing down the motion is to provide to the entire council the report that the township attorney will be providing to the acting business administrator in response to her request regarding the Bovieville sewer issue.
With a time frame, though, Council President.
Well, I'm trying to assist the clerk in writing down the motion first. If we could.
But a reasonable amount of time, it's only been 25 years.
Give me one moment just to make sure the clerk has the motion down.
The motion.
The clerk is writing down the motion so that we can have it correct in the minutes. So,
Okay, John.
so Mr. Kelly, just want to make sure I have the motion correct. So the motion is to provide, is for the attorney to provide the council with the same report that he provides to the acting business administrator regarding the Bovieville sewer assessment non-payment situation.
I believe requested by the business administrator would be better.
Okay, so.
Mrs. Seeger, when did you ask for that report?
Hang on, Mr. Kelly. One thing at a time.
Sorry.
One thing at a time, Mr. Kelly. So, Mr. Kelly, the motion we have is for the township attorney to provide the council with the same report requested by the acting business administrator regarding the Bovieville sewer assessment non-payment situation. Are we good so far?
That's fine.
Okay. What is a reasonable time frame within which you would like that report?
I don't want to impose a time on it. I mean, 25 years has already transpired. I don't know how much more time from the document.
Ms. Seeger, what is a reasonable time for that report to be provided?
I agree with Mr. Kelly. I will do it as soon as I can. I have the budget to prepare. We have a lot coming up at this time of year,
Okay.
and I will work on it.
So what is a reasonable time frame?
May I be heard on the issue of the
Excuse me, Ms. Seeger speak.
It may not be appropriate to
Excuse me,
report to the
excuse me,
council.
Mr. Iacofano, the question is to Mrs. Seeger.
I'd be happy to explain.
Mrs. Seeger, is there a reasonable time frame?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
If I may-
Mr. Kelly, is that, so can we move forward with the motion
I would
as
like to.
written?
Let me ask it so I can get it out, what I'm trying to make them understand. And letting
Mr. Kelly, we have a motion that we're drafting to get you what you're looking for.
And I'm trying to help
Okay.
you achieve that.
Continue, Mr. Kelly.
Is that, Mr. Iacofano, you've had that for 2 years.
Are you talking to microphone?
I'm sorry.
Mr. Kelly, this is not the time for your annual gotcha. I'm trying to explain to the council that it may not be appropriate to release a report to the council. Once a report and full analysis is completed, it may be more appropriately the subject for closed session, as the research we've been able to do so far indicates that there may be legal issues involved and certain liabilities that incur from, or to, I should say, no, from the residents who are on this line who may be the subject of an assessment towards the township. They would have to be discussed in the concept of potential pending litigation in closed session. Under those circumstances, I would not want to release a report to the members of the council. There's also an issue of what happened when the sewer project was completed. That was in the mid-'90s, I believe, when Mr. Inglesino was mayor. I don't know why the project never went forward when the project was originally completed. There is additional information to gather. When Mayor Datchison passed this baton over to our firm sometime in 2016, we had to reconstruct everything that happened from that point. I do know that the original ordinance goes back to 1993. I can report to the council that based upon my recent telephone conference with the CFO, there is, Lisa, how much to pay off on the bond remaining?
There's only a year and a half left.
Okay, year and a half left on the bond. So the total amount remaining to be paid back is somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000, if I recall. But it's too early to tell. At this point, I can tell you that it's not simply a matter, it does not appear, absent other legal issues, to be a matter of simply going forward. There are other situations or other issues that the administration is going to have to consider, and we'll be able to isolate those issues, but the proper subject of informing the council in this matter would be a closed session.
Mr. Kelly, just for your awareness, the council has, prior to the arrival of the new members of this council, in previous years received confidential memos from the administration. I don't see why this couldn't be provided to the council as a confidential memo if the attorney felt that it should not be publicly disclosed. So, Mr. Kelly, you have a motion. Would you like to make that motion?
Yeah, the motion that we had, I mean, again, we've never had an issue before
Okay.
with the...
Would you like to make that motion, Mr. Kelly, for that report?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Kelly has made that motion. Is there a second for it? Seconded by Abrahamson. Is there any further discussion with regard to the motion made by Mr. Kelly? What is your question? Ms. Abrahamson, just grab the microphone, please.
I do understand that the Armory paid over close to $300,000. Okay. So the Armory paid $288,000. They were noticed properly, and they paid for the hookup. So that gives me a little confusion on how one entity wound up paying that kind of money and the rest slipped through the cracks. And that's only really more a comment, and perhaps that will be included with our report so we can clear all that up, to understand how that happened. Because we did get 200, I mean, now, is the Armory going to ask for a refund if everybody else doesn't pay? It's a real quandary.
There was a cap that was attempted to put on there, which may be against Title 40 of $16,000, but yet we've collected $288,000 from the Armory already, you know, over 25 years ago, or close to 25 years ago. So these are, you know, there's a lot of concerns that are there, but if it's going through all these attorneys, Mr. Buzak having it for a period of time, through a transition of different elected officials and whatnot, and where we're even at now, as the most recent one was 2004, I just don't understand why there's like another 2-year gap that had taken place here with no answers to it. And other assessments that we've applied to sewer lines, how long has that taken? Comparative. Like what did we do different this time? Because this isn't the first installation of a sewer line in Rockaway Township. There's many that have been before this.
And Mr. Kelly, is there a question in there?
No.
Okay, I have a question for the CFO. I just wanted to confirm the bonds that were used to pay for this project that I understand only have a year and a half left. Those are being paid back out of the general fund?
Yes, they're being paid out of the general fund.
So residents who aren't benefiting from these sewers are paying for these sewers currently?
All the taxpayers are paying.
Right. So it includes those who do benefit as well as those who do not benefit from them. And that is atypical, right? Typically, projects like this, for sewer hookups, the fees are paid by, the bonds are paid by those who benefit.
Once the assessment is confirmed, which obviously this one has not been, once the assessments are confirmed, the principal and interest payments are paid by the users of that assessment.
Thank you for answering that question. Hearing no further discussion on this, clerk, if you would please call the roll. Did you have further discussion? Please go ahead, Councilmember Friedlander.
You're changing the resolution to be...
There's no resolution, we have a motion. Would you like me to repeat the motion?
Well, I've heard confidential.
I'm not going to add confidential. If the administration feels that they need to provide it in a confidential manner, the motion as it stands can be provided to the council in that manner.
We just don't disseminate it, that's all.
Yeah, the attorney said that it shouldn't go to closed session, so why do you...
If the attorney would like to provide us with a confidential memo, as he's done many times previously, he's welcome to do that, but the motion before us is for the council to receive that memo. However is most appropriate, whether it's confidential or not confidential.
Could you repeat the memo?
Would you like, okay, the motion?
Motion, please, thank you.
The motion is for the attorney to provide the council with the same report requested by the acting business administrator regarding the Bowieville sewer assessment non-payment situation.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
I will abstain.
Councilmember Friedlander?
No.
Councilmember Puzzio?
No.
Councilmember Palumbo?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
No.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Jedinak?
Yes, motion passes. We look forward to receiving that report from the administration. Next, we have Mayor's report.
Thank you, Council President. First, I'd like to...
Sorry to interrupt you. We have a little bit of an echo here on... Excuse me.
Quite all right.
We have a little bit of an echo here on the speakerphone, so just a forewarning. Please continue.
Thank you. Again, I'd like to publicly thank Mr. and Mrs. Antonelli again for their contribution of the portrait of Mayor Datchison, which I hope you all had a chance to see out in the lobby. A wonderful lasting tribute that'll be a permanent fixture of our town hall, and we should all be proud of that. So thank you for that. Secondly, Acting Clerk, I would ask that the memo from Yachafano and Perone dated October 11th, 2018, referring R-18-147 is added to the record.
Your request is noted.
Thank you. Council President, at the beginning of the meeting, you referenced Judge Minkwitz's definition of a suitable venue. I just wanted to state my disagreement with, I think, what you felt was the spirit of where Judge Minkwitz was going with that. I don't believe that after hearing Judge Minkwitz discuss the violations of the Open Public Meeting Act, that having residents standing outside in the elements with no chairs, with minimal access to viewing or seeing proceedings was his idea of a suitable venue. So I would ask you to reconsider, if we do run into situations again where we have overflow crowds, that you would consider moving our venue to a larger location where we all can be together as one group. Everyone can access everything, and I just truly believe that that's more what the judge was referring to in that.
Mr. Mayor? Excuse me.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly, let the mayor finish speaking.
Thank you. Second Council President, you referenced 2-5.1 regarding governing rules, and you were correct. It does state that the Council President absolutely determines, what proceeds. But I would hope that you would continue to read through where it does state, at his discretion, may choose to have any matter in issue concerning questions of order, methods, or organization, and the conduct of business determined by a majority vote of the council. The way I read that is, you're absolutely right. You do set the proceedings, but you also have the leadership to hear other sides. You have the choice to veer off of it and to hear other council people, to take ideas from your fellow council people. So I would just simply ask that a true leader is not a rock. A true leader listens to the folks around them that may have something to add. So again, in the true spirit of 2-5.1, I would ask that again. You do take advantage of what it states here, that you can choose to listen to others and not be on a rock hard plane. Finally, I would just like to add from another judge today, from Joseph L. Yanati. I'll just go right to the bottom. We have considered the arguments raised by Jednak on appeal and conclude that they are without merit to warrant discussion in a written appeal. We affirm substantially for the reasons stated by Judge Minkowitz in his thorough and well-reasoned oral decision. Accordingly, the order of October 1st, 2018 is summarily affirmed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salberg. Next on the agenda, we have open to the public.
One last thing, Council President. Again, we do need to have a motion on both Township Engineer and Business Administrator.
Mr. Salberg.
Yes.
Mayor Salberg, with regard to the next agenda, if you have items like that to place on it, please submit them.
I do believe that we did send them, and within the 24-hour notice that was required.
Yeah. Next on the agenda is open to the public.
Could you please did you receive it within the 24-hour stipulated time period?
Mr. Mayor, I heard your request, and we are now moving on to the next item of business.
Why are the answers?
We're on public input. Ordinance 2-5.14 requires that any comments or questions made Ordinance 2-5.14 requires that any comments or questions made during the public portion of the council meeting must be addressed to the council as a whole and not to any individual council member. The failure to comply with this ordinance may result in the termination of any further opportunity to address the council at that session. All speakers must first be recognized by the council president before speaking. All comments are to be directed to the entire council as a whole and not to any individual council members. Speakers have 5 minutes each to speak per Township Code 2-5.14. At the conclusion of 5 minutes, an alarm will sound indicating that the speaker's time has expired, and the individual speaking is expected to immediately relinquish the microphone so that the next individual may speak. Failure to adhere to these rules will result in the council president using the gavel to reinforce adherence to the rules and when an individual's speaking time has expired. If at any time a speaker ignores the gavel or refuses to relinquish the microphone, the sergeant-at-arms is directed to assist the individual in relinquishing the microphone and remove the individual from the meeting as necessary. First on the list is Michael Ilardi. Please state your name and address for the record.
It's Michael Ilardi, 19 North Brookside Drive. I have quite a few things. First, the councilman that phones in, I was wondering how many meetings you're allowed to phone in, and is there a reason that the public's allowed to be aware of why it seems to have been multiple meetings? On the sewer assessments, I mean, if these houses have not been owned by the same person that received the original benefit of the sewer, the people that bought those homes bought them with the value of having sewers. So I don't see how the town can assess the new owners when they basically paid the value of the house to the previous owners. So I think that's going to be an issue. I think maybe we could cough up a few bucks on microphones for every person, so we don't have to hand it back and forth. I mean, it looks like we're dealing in kindergarten. The January minutes that were updated to reflect the audio, did everyone listen to the audio to know that the minutes reflected the audio? Okay, because that information wasn't given. I'd also like to know where we stand with the Wawa. That was maybe 4 or 5 meetings ago, and nothing else has come before us about it. I don't know if there's anything going on in the background, but I'd hate to see it go someplace else because we're arguing back and forth every month. Also mentioned on one of the storm issues with the storm drains is somebody's downspouts are backing up through the storm drain. Are we allowed to put our downspouts into storm drains? I thought we had to deadhead them above ground. I don't know if there's a rule to that, but if there is, that's okay. I brought up in the past the arrows on the ground on North Lakeshore Drive, just on that one-way street by a few of the curves, because you do have drivers going the wrong way when they leave people's houses. Something else was brought to my attention about Hibernia and White Meadow Road. It used to be a 4-way stop many years ago. It's a 2-way stop now. And there always seems to be confusion at that intersection. People stop when they're not supposed to stop. People think the other person has a stop sign. It's just an area that could be looked into just to see if it could be a safer way to work that. Another thing, I feel I don't have representation on the council a lot of times because the council member from my ward seems like they don't have a voice. And I think there's others that feel that way. And I think when there's an independent councilman on the, even on the side that seems to be on the favorable side, when there's an independent point of view, that person gets shot down. I mean, to me, have a little relaxation in the rules and get the point made and work. There's some crosstalk for him to answer his question, and you don't allow him to answer his question. And it's simple yes or no or this or that would answer the question. Everything can move smoothly. Lastly, I read in the paper that we are a bunch of leftist rioters. There is no one in this room that can prove to me they're more right-wing conservative than I am. And if there was a riot, I'm pretty sure the reporters out of here would like nothing better than a front-page story. And I think we deserve an apology. We call that in the paper. Because people that don't follow this as closely think that's what's going on here. It doesn't help our property values, doesn't help our reputation. And I'll use the remaining of my 5 minutes to stand here in case there is an apology coming.
You have a minute left.
I can stand for more than a minute. You let me know when the timer goes off. I think we're missing 2 reports from council people and the rest of the administration also, if they have an opportunity to speak. I'm not looking for you. I'm not looking for an apology. Only from one person. I don't expect to get it, but I could use my 5 minutes.
Your time has expired. Thank you for your comments. Before I move on to, excuse me, Mr. Palumbo, could you hold on for a moment? Before I continue with the rest of the public input, I did in fact skip my report in my response. Excuse me. Okay. In the second row in the white, if you yell out again, in the gray in the back, if you yell out again, you'll be asked, both of you will be asked to leave. You've been warned. Okay, with regard to the comment made by Mr. Salberg with regard to the meeting location and suitable venue, I offered to Mr. Salberg last week to meet with him. He didn't take me up on that offer. If he would like to meet with me, I would be happy to have that meeting as I offered last week. With regard to this room and making it suitable, there's an IT committee. The IT committee has had since at least as far back as March a proposal for video cameras that would be permanently installed in this room, so that would also be able to live stream the video of this meeting to anywhere, to the internet. The administration has sat on that since it's been proposed to them. I followed up on it during that time period as well. And to this date, it still has not gone anywhere. So if Mr. Salberg is serious about that, my suggestion would be that he follow up on that project specifically, so that meetings of this council and any meetings that take place in this council chamber can be broadcast to the internet, which also gives us the ability, once it's on the internet, that a TV that is internet enabled can be placed almost anywhere, including at the library or elsewhere that isn't out in the elements. So there are options here that have been on the table for quite some time that this mayor, if he's serious about that, can continue to look into.
Mr. Council President, may I respond?
You had your opportunity to speak, and I
mentioned my name, Council President. May I respond?
Mr. Mayor, you had your opportunity.
You referenced my name, Council President. May I respond?
I didn't interrupt you when you spoke. I didn't interrupt you. You had your opportunity.
And I did not interrupt you either. I may ask now to respond.
You are now interrupting. You are actually interrupting me. And you're not recognized.
So I may not respond after you mention me.
You have already had your opportunity to speak, as everyone else has.
How could I have done that before you referenced my name?
Excuse me. You had your opportunity to speak.
You had your... So did you. So did you.
In the gray, if you yell out again, you'll be asked to leave. In the green, blue. Yes, right there, waving his hand. Yell out again. With regard to phoning into meetings, since January, I have asked that there be a speakerphone here on the dais, so that any council member who cannot attend for any reason is able to dial into the meeting for the purposes of participating. It's open to everyone. It's been open to everyone since January 2nd. The phone has not been here previously, except on special requests prior to January. I insist on it being here always, so that anyone who is not able to be here physically can still participate. And there's nothing wrong with that. Mr. Palumbo, did you want to comment on that?
Why does he get...
The question is, why is there one council member who is on the speakerphone at this meeting?
Okay, well, let me ask you, Mr. Liardi.
Mr. Ilardi asked the question.
I'm sorry. I'm on my way back. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm on my way back from Vermont, where my son goes to college. And a tumor
Last 3 meetings?
And get a biopsy. Is that good enough reason for me on my way back?
Yeah, I'll relay that, Mr. Palumbo. Mr. Palumbo stated, Mr. Ilardi, that he is on his way back from, excuse me, I'm making sure that his comment is on the record, okay? Please be respectful of Mr. Palumbo's comment. Mr. Palumbo's response to Mr. Ilardi's question is that Mr. Palumbo is driving back from Vermont after having visited his son, who was had a biopsy today for a tumor. So that is the answer to your question, Mr. Ilardi. We are going to continue. Excuse me. No, if you speak out again, you'll be asked to leave. It's as simple as that. We have the rules. We're adhering to them. You asked your question. Please. Okay. One more time. You've been warned. Thank you. Okay. Next is Dave Press. Please state your name and address for the record.
Okay. Dave Press, 71 Oakland Avenue. Regarding to the rules, we've all known that as long as you've been up there, you make the rules up as you go along, and you use Robert's rules when it suits you. That's all. Okay, there's absolutely no excuse for the ever increasingly disgusting way you treat the citizens of Rockaway Township. You people need to be treated at the level on which you behave. Pay attention to the people instead of your toys, whether they be cell phones or gavels. In public schools, when students enter a classroom, they take their cell phones and put them in some type of storage unit. This is done to reduce the chance of a distraction. Maybe that should be a requirement here. Maybe on the way into this room, you can put your phones inside an eyesore of a mailbox so you won't be distracted during the course of a meeting, especially during the public portion. And I recently came across the following on Facebook. Please vote today for Jeremy Jedniak and me for lower spending, increased transparency, and a better future for Rockaway Township. This was posted on November 3rd, 2015 at 7:14 a.m. by Patty Abramson, said is with Jeremy Jedniak. Talk about false advertising and not keeping your promises. Spending is certainly not lower. You couldn't be any less transparent if you were totally opaque. And the better future for Rockaway Township will only come when the 5 of you are out of office. And welcome, Mayor Sahlberg, and welcome back, Attorney Achafano.
Thank you for your comments. Next on the list is Barry Silbiger. Please state your name and address for the record.
Barry Silbiger, 12 Lakeshore Drive, sorry. I came here with a little bit of notes, and my intention was really to go off on you guys. But seeing how you guys already got a lot of bad news today, I'm going to have a little pity. But I have a question for all of you, and that is why? Why are you behaving this way? What kind of example are you setting for our kids? You talk over people. You have no respect for other people on the council. Are you the Rockaway Township Council or the Rockaway Township Kindergarten? I really want to know. Either way, it's absolutely ridiculous. I moved here, I bought my house 2 months ago. Before I bought it, somebody said, go online, look at the YouTube videos. I figured maybe partisan politics. This isn't partisan politics, this is stupidity. That's what it is. You're not getting the business of the township done, and there's no reason for it. Absolutely none. To have a councilman try to make a motion to fill vacancies and not accept it or not recognize him, why not? And then you have somebody who wants to answer when you bring up his name and you say no, the mayor of the town. Yet you let Mr. Palumbo answer. So guess what? I still have time. Mr. Sahlberg, please answer the question.
Excuse me, Mr. Silver.
It is not against the rules.
Your time is yours exclusively.
What was that?
Your time is yours alone.
That is not in the rules. Please read the administrative code. That is not in the rules. Don't change them.
Mr. Silbiger, that...
Okay, fine. I'm standing here for another few minutes.
You have 3 minutes.
I have 3 minutes. Anybody want to say anything? Sure? All right, I'll let somebody else come up and have their word. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next on the list is Pat Degnan. Please state your name and address for the record.
Pat Degnan, 88 Valley View Drive. I'm here again, and I've been doing some research, and I have here a document that was prepared by the state of New Jersey, the Controller's Office. It's analysis of legal fees paid by the New Jersey local governments. So I'd like you to read it into the record.
Excuse me, Ms. Degnan, if you would bring it here.
You hope you have copies.
Thank you.
I also have the summary, which was at the end of that report, which I would like each one of the council people to read. Because obviously, over the last 8 months, 9 months, you haven't read it. To quote, you quote Robert's rules when you feel like it, and then when Mr. Puzio quoted Robert's rules, which was a point of order, he should have been recognized.
Yeah.
You silence him. You amend minutes that were already approved, yet at the end of every minute in the public portion, our words are not in there word for word. They're summarized to your liking. We want our words in the minutes. You hear it on the recording. I speak for 5 minutes almost every time. There's 3 lines. Takes me a long time to speak, but not 5 minutes for 3 lines. At every meeting, on every agenda since January, there's a statement which is read to the public, and I quote, "This meeting was advertised in the Daily Record, the official newspaper for the Township of Rockaway, on January the 8th, 2018. Notice was posted on the official bulletin board of Rockaway Township." To me, advertise means we could read it in the paper, not posting it on some bulletin board at 10:30 at night. So that's why the judge ruled in the citizens' favor, not your favor. Under the open public section in the January meeting, a resident voiced concerns on page 45 in the minutes, to be exact, about the transition of changing attorneys and its cost to the community if a new attorney is brought in. Council President, you said, and I quote from the minutes, "The appointment of a township attorney is a mayor appointment, and the mayor will be the person to choose Mr. Iacovano as township attorney unless he chooses to appoint a different attorney. You ignored the advice of the township attorney over and over again, and this is why we have lost confidence, and you have lost the confidence of the citizens of this fabulous township, of which I've been a member for 48 years. You tried to ram John Inglesino down our throats the first chance you got, though it was at an illegal meeting, and that's why we citizens have come together."
Next on the list is Rebecca Wickens. Please state your name and address for the record. Rebecca Wickens.
The First Amendment, Rebecca Wickens, Rockaway Township. The First Amendment to the Constitution says, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances." I don't think you guys read that in school or anywhere else. The phone-in, I understand the emergency. In most towns, in most states, you're allowed 2 phone-ins a year for an emergency. This is the 3rd or the 4th. Was there 3 or 4 emergencies? It is only for emergency. The mayor requested an addition to the agenda within 24 hours. Why wasn't it put in? Don't know. There were various words thrown about after the hearing that deemed the September meeting illegal and undid all the actions that took place. Activist, advocating or practicing activism, using or supporting strong actions in support of or in opposition to one side of a controversial issue. The words that you called the plaintiffs. Leftist, someone who sits on the left side of the political spectrum. As a group, the left supports change, progress, and social equality. Rioter, someone who takes part in a brawl or a violent disturbance. Or one of a group of people who meet in a public place and behave in a noisy, violent, uncontrolled way. Well, I don't think we acted like rioters, but, you know. I have to thank the activist judge who sided with us leftist rioters and put a stop to the madness that was going on under your rule. Thank you, activist judge, for ridding this town of a greedy, corrupt, self-serving town attorney and his ridiculous contract and saving us hundreds of thousands of dollars that can be put back in the township coffers. Thank you, activist judge, for replacing an insipid, wishy-washy interim mayor who would have done nothing for this town. The fact that you actually tried and failed to appeal the decision as a town resident was ludicrous, but I have to admit the thought of you breaking into your own piggy bank to fund this futile exercise made me smile. All of us on the suit received a huge packet that arrived via FedEx. I hope it cost you a fortune, and I will look forward to using it as toilet paper. It was okay for you to change the venue, and your reasoning was the amount of people and safety issues. But you would not let the venue be changed. It is cold and wet, which will disenfranchise many people. Another OPMA violation, but I guess you won't learn. And due to the weather, I'm sure that many people did not attend. The situation in this town has become a pitiful game of spite and malice with no regard to the residents of this town. I found a couple of quotes I'd like to share. Let us never forget that the government is ourselves and not an alien power over us. The ultimate rulers of our democracy is not a president and senators, congressmen and government officials, but the voters of this country. That was written by Franklin D. Roosevelt. Patriotism is supporting your country all the time and your government when it deserves it. Mark Twain. Abraham Lincoln, when he tried to define democracy, he pointed out clearly to be a system of government which is wholly elected by the people to serve the people. We elected people to serve the people of this town, but they have really just been self-serving themselves. We, the people, also have the right to a recall procedure by which voters can remove elected officials before their term has ended. Now, the question is the current recall legal or illegal doesn't really matter. The judge put it aside, but regardless, the recall will go on, even if we need to recollect every signature. Either way, you lose. It would be much more dignified for you to resign. We are the disillusioned, the disenfranchised, the disappointed, the dismayed, and the disheartened residents who are taking action against the deceivingly disgusting council majority behavior. But I am proud to say I am one of the leftist rioters that will prevail. And I've got shiny, tiny paper for everybody.
Sergeant at Arms, that's disruptive behavior. Please remove her from the meeting. Next on the list is James Waters. Please state your name and address for the record.
Jim Waters, 48 Seneca Avenue in the Township. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to see everyone here tonight. My guy I was sitting next to mentioned something, and I wasn't sure about it. Did we actually take a vote on R-18-177 on a senior citizen's roof? Because I didn't hear that. That was my bad. Thank you. And Adam Solberg, you're bad too, because that's what I was going to do up here, was to read that we have considered the arguments raised by Jedinak on appeal and conclude they are without merit to warrant discussion in a written opinion. We affirm substantially for the reasons stated by active Judge Minkowitz in his thorough and well-reasoned oral decision. Accordingly, the order of October 1st, 2018 is summarily affirmed. The only real question I have about that is, since you sued in your position as a resident of Rockaway Township, whether that was out of your own pocket or whether the township also supported you on that. Also wanted to comment, you'd like to quote that we need to address the council as a whole and not address any one individual. While we have a number of council people on video
addressing council people individually when they were on this side of the road. So apparently what's sauce for the goose is not sauce for the gander, again. And I would remind you, it's the second time I've said I have a First and Fourth Amendment right to address anyone up here by name anytime that I choose to. And if you remove me for that reason, maybe Minkowitz can help me out. By the way, there's also a section in the administrative code which says that any citizen can ask to be recognized by the council president. It implies that it should be during the public session, but it does not state that it has to be during the public session. When Mrs. Gregg asked to be recognized by you, you threatened her. And when she asked a second time to be recognized by you, you threw her out of the meeting. Unbelievable. Oh, dear. Where to start? If you've been on the Township politics site, you've seen that I posted John Inglesino's contracts for the Morris County GIF and for the Borough of Florham Park, and shortly we'll have the personal services contract for Morristown. It's interesting to note that all of those contracts are not no-cut contracts. They're either 20 days or 30 days notice, and you're out of here, even if I don't like you. The billing rates in the GIF, I think, were $155. The billing rate in Borough of Florham Park is $160 blended, except when he works on sewer authority work, in which case it's $175. No $250, no $275. No reason to charge a higher rate for something he's an expert at doing. We're not going to miss him. Yes. Somebody else pointed out earlier, he was the mayor here when this whole brouhaha about who paid for sewers and who didn't pay for sewers took place. So if anybody knew what happened and what was forgiven for what reason, it would be John. I'd ask him, but I don't have $250 to ask him. Question I've asked before, haven't got an answer on, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Also, the January reorganization meeting, council stated it would be posting minutes and agendas on the bulletin board in the library. I still haven't seen any there. Don't say that you're going to do something in January and then ignore it the rest of the year. What else? I think I got cut short about 4 minutes and 30 seconds last time when I was commenting positively on Erica Jedinak's, or the AFP's, public statement on TV, which I found was very educational and very forthright. And she advocated for a free and open society, empowering communities, the support of anyone to do good, no one to do harm, empowering activists, and more people to be involved in public policy.
Your 5 minutes has expired, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think should be on our
Thank you for your comments. Next is Laura Loughlin. Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Laura Loughlin, 3308 Cleveland Lane. I came here with a specific question about the protocol for changing the venue when you are expecting a large crowd. I think the solutions that you have offered are not sufficient because apparently you think that remotely broadcasting whatever happens here at a town council meeting is going to give the residents of Rockaway a voice. We need to be present, physically present in the town council meetings. And just simply watching it on television or via some remote feed is not sufficient. I was one of the people who arrived for your 10:30 meeting. I was here at 9:45 on September 14th. I was outside, I remained outside. I counted 97 people before I stopped. And I don't think that any provision you've made so far is sufficient to meet the requirements that your senior citizens, your taxpayers, your residents need.
Thank you for your comments. Next on the list is Ed Mariani. Please state your name and address for the record.
Ed Mariani, 3 Carla Court, Rockaway, New Jersey. First off, I have to say I think I have speech envy here because my speech is going to pale by comparison to everything that's gone before me, but I'm going to go through it anyway. Over the last 10 months, our town has witnessed a significant path of destruction, a political tsunami that has undermined our local government's ability to function in the best interest of its citizens. We've seen a fantastic business administrator, baselessly referred to as a criminal and forced out, who resigned to get out of the toxic environment that had been created. We've had a wonderful town clerk unceremoniously and emotionlessly fired in the middle of a council meeting. We've recently lost a hardworking, ethical, intelligent town engineer who had always had the best interests of the town at heart. We've been horrified by the harassment and attempted coup d'etat against our well-respected town attorney in order to replace him with one of extremely questionable history with Parsippany, the Sussex County solar debacle, and the state pension system, just to name a few. I don't have a page long enough, and I need more than 5 minutes to go through the whole thing. We've been deeply saddened by the loss of our amazing mayor from a heart attack, which may have been partially attributable to undue stress from the constant nonstop attacks by certain council members. We've experienced an ongoing lack of basic respect for town folks, as continuously evidenced in the council meetings, Open Public Meeting Act violations, and comments mysteriously disappearing from political Facebook pages. The most recent being an outright refusal in a condescending email back to interim Mayor Sahlberg, who was referred to as Mr. in the reply, to even consider moving tonight's venue to an already cleared larger location, due to an inflexible protocol that is first and foremost designed to restrict adequate access to the citizens to roughly less than 100, after accounting for the council members, the mayor, attorney, department heads, and the dozen or so police officers already in the building. These are just a few of what I've seen. I'm sure the 25 other unhappy townspeople can add to the list. 5 words come to mind, and these are words that I try to live by: compassion, honesty, ethics, morality, integrity. These are 5 words I don't think of when I view the actions and words from certain members of this council. That is, unless I add 2 more words in front of them: lack of. Thank you for having the best interests of your constituents at heart. Hopefully, those that you have thoughtfully kept outside the building for safety reasons won't get struck by lightning or catch a cold from being forced to support their town out in the rain. And I just want to end on a quick poem. I've been working on this all week. It's really, roses are red, violets are blue. Reform or resign, or a recall for you. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Kim Kleindienst. Please state your name and address for the record.
Kim Kleindienst, 8 Nokomis Avenue. First of all, thank you, Mr. Puzio, for responding to my questions from the last meeting. I appreciate your efforts. I spent the last few days reading through all the legal paperwork I was delivered on Mr. Jedniak's appeal. I was struck by something that Ms. Smith stated in her certification of defendant statement. Ms. Smith, you stated, "In my position as a council member, I do not call the meeting, set the agenda, or perform the notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act." Despite this, plaintiff names me personally in order to harass and to develop a political talking point for the campaign of her husband. You go on to state, the plaintiff's complaint is an obvious attempt to create political discord among the members of the council. Let me enlighten you to why I believe you and the others were named in this lawsuit that I was part of. You are an elected official. You were elected to serve the constituents in your ward. You were put on this council to advocate for the needs and issues that arise in your ward. No, you don't set up the meeting or agenda, but by not questioning the legality of issues brought forth, you are complicit And for anyone who may not know what the meaning of complicit means, choosing to be involved in a legal or questionable act, especially with others. Let me repeat that. Choosing to be involved in a legal or questionable act, especially with others. You were provided opinions and advice from the town lawyer that the meeting of September 14th might not have met the legal requirements. Your own fellow council members stated their concerns, as did the people that voted for you. And you chose to ignore those concerns and vote through the chaos with your voting block without giving any thought to the councilmen's or your constituents' concerns. You chose to do this, therefore you are complicit. You blame the plaintiff for creating political discord on the council. Again, by doing nothing, you are allowing discord to happen. When asked to move the meeting tonight to Copeland, the council president that you elected refused to move the meeting, citing a variety of reasons. Was this the best decision for the residents you serve? If I'm not mistaken, you represent Fox Hills and Greenbrier in your ward. Are you really telling me that those members of the community would not be inconvenienced if they had to stand outside watching a TV screen versus a large venue with easy access and handicap facilities? You said nothing in defense of the people you serve. You chose to do nothing. Therefore, you are complicit. Are you being harassed? You may feel that way. Rather, I feel you're being held accountable for your behavior, or in this case, lack of behavior. You and Mr. Palumbo, while rarely speaking a single word, speak volumes. Your inaction and inability to serve the people who elected you will result in a similar response to that of your fellow councilmen. You sit here month after month and continue to be a participant in legal actions that are costing close to $1 million, while your constituents are being taxed out of their homes at rates higher than anywhere else in Rockaway. What have you done to help them? How are they better off for you sitting here doing nothing and saying nothing on their behalf? You and your fellow councilman, Mr. Palumbo, are like two people sitting in the back seat of a car where the driver and the front passengers have plans to rob a bank. Sitting in the back seat, you know what's going on, but you do nothing to stop the front passengers from robbing the bank. You would be just as guilty as they were in the eyes of the law and would suffer the same legal consequences they would. It's no different here in the council chambers. You are complicit. You will suffer the same consequences come January when you are eligible for a recall. So no, Mrs. Smith, you didn't call the meeting or set the agenda, but you have done nothing in defense of the people you serve. Your ride in the back seat of the car is coming to an end. We will not continue to accept complicit behavior without consequence. So I may not have voted for you, but again, I will continue to hold you and others accountable through lawsuits or whatever means. And when the recall petition is started for you, I will gladly go door to door in your ward and collect signatures because your silence speaks volumes.
Thank you for your comment. Next on the list is Lisa Salbert. Please state your name and address for the record. Lisa Salbert.
Lisa Salberg, 10 Bergen Hill. I never expected in my life that I'd have to take my own town to court just to make them follow the law. But I did, along with 16 fellow residents, friends, and the truest definition of the word, patriots. We won. You appealed. We won bigger. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-12. Meetings open to the public, except as provided in subsection B. Won't go into that today. Of this section, all meetings of the public body shall be open to the public at all times. What does this mean? It means you cannot have an inclusion list, because by having an inclusion list, you have an exclusion list. It means you must accommodate all who wish to participate in an open meeting in every way, always. This inclusion means to be present to witness all actions, to see not only what's on the camera, but what can't be seen by the camera. Who's on their cell phone? Yeah. Who's not paying attention when somebody's speaking? Who is paying attention when somebody is speaking? You can cheer for your fellow residents. You can boo your fellow residents. It's full participation. A video doesn't count in the Open Public Meetings Act. Tonight, our mayor tried to move the meeting to a more suitable location. We've already been through what you believe was, we'll have a meeting to discuss it. Yeah, no. There's no meeting required. Move the friggin' meeting. It's no big deal. What would it have hurt anybody? And it would have helped many people and gone a long way to bring goodwill. Yeah. But no. So I suggest we move the meetings to Copeland or another school until meeting size maybe comes back down and behavior changes.
People don't have to wait 2 hours to get in.
And you shouldn't have anybody sitting out in the rain. You have ADA issues, major Americans with Disabilities Act issues by having people stand outside. So let's talk about Robert's Rules for a few minutes. The right to vote is essential in preserving democracy in organizations of elected bodies. There are 3 principles to consider when considering when voting is taking place. Number 1, is the vote taken fairly in an impartial manner? This means the council president or anybody else leading the meeting should not lead by saying, I will be voting no. Does everyone who wants to vote get to vote? Well, that doesn't always happen here. You can defer to vote to get more information. That doesn't happen here. You want people to make informed votes. Get information from the town attorney. Get information from their fellow council people. But that doesn't happen here. Does the announcement of the results represent the way people vote? Well, I'm sure we can all remember a time where the vote got a little confused. And sometimes you don't give the final answer. What was the vote? What was the number? You're failing in your duties as a council president. You have to make sure everybody knows what the vote is and enunciate it clearly for everybody. August 22nd, we cried no quorum, no meeting. Judge agreed, no quorum, no meeting. Now we are going to have to go back because you did vote on things that the judge needs to overturn, and that will happen. September 14th, the committee cried out, no sufficient notice. It's a 10:30 Friday night meeting. Does that really serve the interest of the community? I stood right at this microphone and I said, what happened here tonight may not well have happened at all. Well, the judge agreed. The meeting was deemed illegal and all actions vacated. Last meeting, September 22nd, you failed to provide proper notice again. Will we have to go back to court on that one? Probably. We're getting pretty good at that stuff, so we might have to do that. So now I'm going to turn my attention to something a little different. During the September 14th meeting, the acting council president stated very abruptly, and I'm going to quote, "This is my meeting." She ignored a point of order, a clear violation of the law, knowingly breaking the law, and then, in the following days, used her personal Facebook page to call me a narcissist. Yeah, I have the screen captures. Just to be clear, a narcissist
Excuse me.
who is somebody who serves their own interests, an activist is who serves
Please assist her
the
relinquishing the
community.
microphone.
I'm going.
Please assist her.
You're allowed to finish your sentence.
Next on the list is Emily Coleman. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello? Me? Emily. Can you repeat the name? We didn't hear the name. What was the name? Nobody heard you finish your sentence, Jeremy.
I think you called my name, and it would be really nice if you waited till the room was quiet and then called our names so we would know that it's our turn. So I'm Emily Coleman. I'm at 18 Lakeshore Drive. Jeremy? Sorry? Go Lakeshore. Okay, go Lakeshore. Woohoo! Jeremy? We've been sitting here and we've been watching your patronizing, condescending, mean-spirited attitude, and everybody in this room deserves better. We don't deserve to be treated the way that you treat us. I have never come into this room and seen you smile. If you ever smiled, I think that would make a big difference. And if you don't like your job, I think you should resign. And as for the questions that you have about whatever went on in the 90s, you seem to be exceedingly close friends with John Inglesino. So I think you should ask him what happened in the 90s. Honestly, you had 21 police officers the night that you brought him here. You were very bent on bringing him back to this town. He was the mayor. Ask him what happened. Leave these guys alone. They weren't around then. It is so upsetting coming to these meetings. You have rattled us. And I don't know if that gives you great pleasure or what it does, but we're sick of our town being run like this, and I am so happy that our attorney and our mayor, new mayor, Adam, and Mr. Iacofano are back in town.
Thank you for your comments. Next on the list is Katie Platts. Please state your name and address for the record.
Katie Platts, 2 Valhalla Way. I have been an attorney for almost 15 years, and one of my proudest days in court was October 1st of this year, when I appeared as a pro se litigant against your $80,000 of attorneys that all of us paid for what? To go in there and have to make an application because you broke the law. And you know what? It's been determined by a court, sir. You have acted unlawfully in your position, and again today it's been determined by an appellate court who reviewed that decision. All of us were forced to take you to court because you refused to behave in a legal, ethical manner. My daughter is here tonight. She's here because I want to show her that, in fact, people in government have integrity, and that we brought that integrity back to this town because we got a mayor and an attorney that actually behaves in an ethical way. Let's talk about ordinance number 18-18 that you introduced at our last meeting, and let's just quote it for a second. This township finds and declares it's in the best interest of the township and its residents to amend the language of Township Code, Chapter 2, Section 6.3. That extremely enhanced in an incomprehensible way the power of our township attorney. I reviewed the prior code. The prior code required oversight by the mayor and the town council so that the attorney didn't just have power to do whatever he wanted. It didn't permit him to include his entire firm when he's named as counsel. It didn't permit him to do whatever he wanted on behalf of this town without authorization. Funny enough, when it was your choice for attorney, you thought that it was in the benefit of the township. And tonight, for some reason, as Mr. Iacofano sits here, it's not on for second reading. You know what? It's not in the best township, it's not the best for this town, but in fact, what's really concerning about it is that you abuse your power beyond acting illegally to create, ladies and gentlemen, ordinances or laws. They will last forever. You were trying to create a law to benefit yourself personally. What do you owe John Inglesino? Please tell somebody. Because the only reason you filed that appeal, and I'd love to know if you're going to pay your own money, so how about after this, you tell us whether that was at your own cost or whether we pay for that too, because I got a process server at my house as a plaintiff. Am I paying for that? Am I paying for a baseless appeal that really nobody in this town wanted? How dare you represent in that application that you needed to do it on behalf of the township? You're doing it because you owe John Inglesino. You owe him, and he billed over $200,000 in, what, a month? Thank God for the citizens of this town that we're saving it, because all of you that blindly vote along with him are also just as responsible. So tell me, how is it at all the benefit of this town for you to be introducing ordinances? And also tell me that only benefit an attorney to be able to bill a tremendous amount. I grew up in Florham Park. They used some sense when they made that contract. Where was the other side of that negotiation with John Inglesino? Why was there no 30-day carve-out for termination? Why was his contract different than everybody else's? Why did you change the law? You tried to change the law to help him make a lot of money and hurt us. You know what? You sit here and you've spent your entire time being in power in the past however long trying to benefit yourself and your friends. You know what? You're sitting here giving Ms. Seeger a hard time. Where's the BA? Why is she doing the job of two people? Why don't you actually spend some time and fill our department heads and have people working for this town? Why didn't you put the engineer back on the agenda tonight? Why is your only concern making sure that your attorney friends and your Christie allies and your Inglesino lackeys get our money? How about you worry about us? Let's get a BA. Let's not sit here and cross-examine Ms. Seeger to determine when she's going to get something done when she's doing the job of two people. Do your job. Why is it that only the council members who you happen to agree with get to raise motions? Mr. Puzio sat here for how long just trying to raise a motion asking that we have a BA named. Oh, he couldn't raise any motion. But when Mr. Kelly says something that you happen to agree with, suddenly on the spot, let's have a motion. And Mr. Kelly, let me ask you, you're my councilman, and you know, people in our district, in our ward are starting to ask, why doesn't our councilman, Mr. Kelly, stand up for himself?
Please relinquish the
Stop
microphone.
being his lackey.
Thank you. Next on the list is John Edmonds. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Council. How you doing? My name is John Edmonds, 244 Kings Village, Bud Lake, New Jersey. I produce a satire news show called My Minute Minute. I go around the state basically exposing political corruption, hence advertising it. And from what I've seen here is it's pretty evident. I've been to quite a few council meetings throughout the state, and upon coming to this one for the first time on September 14th of last month, I've never been treated the way I was, both as a human and a member of the media. I think it was sickening, and I never actually received an apology, so I probably won't get one, but I'm glad to be here to help out the good residents of Rockaway Township on any capacity that I can. Thank you.
Next on the list is Lisa Miller. Please state your name and address for the record.
Lisa Miller, 455 Mount Hope Road. I wasn't going to speak tonight, so my notes are a little all over the place, unlike in the past. I wanted to say that a wrong was righted today, which is great, but unfortunately I can see some of you are not really recognizing that, so I hope that you will. The meeting was illegal, and I think you guys need to realize that that is what happened, and the judge has ruled in our favor. So I have a question regarding the agenda tonight. So questions hopefully will be answered maybe. There are no July minutes that were approved, so I was wondering where they were. And I'm not also questioning, which a couple people already did, but I just want to get that on the notes again, just in case somebody else's don't get on there. Why is Allison not on the agenda tonight? I've worked with Allison in the past. She's fabulous. So I really hope that, we get her back on the agenda and, we can vote her in, because I believe when the vote went through on the illegal meeting, everybody voted yes. So, and as far as the meeting tonight, You guys can respectfully disagree all you want. However, it's unfair for all of us to have to show up here an hour to an hour and a half taking family time when you guys can, you can just walk in whenever, 15 minutes before, you can just walk in. But I had to wear my galoshes today, my raincoat, I have an umbrella with me. I had to be prepared. I had to leave dinner for the family. I had to come here 2 hours early because you know why? Because I care about the town and I want to see what's going on. I don't want to watch it on a TV. I don't want to watch secondhand. I want to see this as it's going on. I started off watching secondhand, and that's why I started coming to the meetings, because I couldn't believe what was going on, and then I needed to see it. So I really hope that you guys can work together and try and figure out a way to move the meetings to Copeland Middle School so that I can leave my house at 7 o'clock, a respectful hour, and get a seat, and not with the threat of standing outside. It's going to get cold soon. Now, don't get me wrong. I will continue to do that because I want to, but I don't think it's fair to everybody to have to do that. So hopefully we can work a protocol out and get that worked out. Vic, I just want to say I'm going to keep Peter in my thoughts and prayers. I'm not sure if he goes to the University of Vermont. We are going up there this weekend to do a college tour, so if you need us to bring anything, please reach out to me. I want to thank the police officers, because I personally think that you do a great job controlling the meeting, and I know it's not easy. Unfortunately, the council president doesn't believe that, and he called you out on that in the legal brief. So that's unfortunate. And last, but certainly not least, Kim, I would go door to door with you. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next on the list is Deborah Linnell. Please state your name and address for the record.
Deborah Linnell, 237 West Lakeshore Drive. I will try to keep this very short. Mr. Mariani touched on this earlier. I'm not sure if everyone's aware, but on our council president's political, not personal, his political Facebook page, some of us residents are unable to comment on posts. Some are also blocked from viewing comments. Comments that disagree with the original post, however respectfully, are swiftly deleted, and no visitor posts are allowed. It's curious to me how Mr. Jedinak can claim Facebook announcements of meetings are valid if constituents are blocked. Additionally, private messages and emails to Mr. Jedinak and Ms. Abrahamson are routinely ignored. On the contrary, and as an example of more effective public service, I sent an email on October 8th to Ms. Abrahamson on which Mr. Sackett was CC'd. Mr. Sackett responded the same day. I'm willing to bet he doesn't have any more spare time on his hands than anyone else on this council. I simply want to point out the hypocrisy of these practices by someone who ran on and continues to speak about transparency in Rockaway Township. Certain members of this council may want to seriously examine the discrepancy between their noble words and their pitiful actions.
Thank you for your comments. Next on the list is Carol Lucas. Please state your name and address for the record.
Carol Lucas, 37 Stony Brook Road. I looked back in the minutes back to January 2nd, and I was looking at your address when you took office as council president. And you quoted 3 issues as being the biggest complaints that you had heard from residents that you were going to address. Item number 3, lack of transparency and civil public discourse at council meetings. And you went on to state that to improve this, to improve transparency, the structure of council meetings is going to be changed to add second public input sessions, so residents will have an additional opportunity to make comments, ask questions, and receive answers. Sections for new business and old business have been added, blah, blah, blah. An opportunity for new ideas to be introduced and for the continuation of open discussions across meetings. You know, I kind of feel like we're beating a dead horse here, and that you pretty much have to have your head in a hole if you cannot understand that what you've been doing is not what the people want you to do. And this goes for everybody on the board. I know some people have been trying. Some people think they've been trying. Maybe what they think is working obviously isn't working. Judges have ruled that it is not acceptable. People are up here for hours coming out on their own time, basically badgering you. So, do we continue doing this and you just continue ignoring us? It's ridiculous. If you really want to serve the people, then please listen to what we're saying. And I understand that you're getting attacked. You got to take a little bit of blame on that one for the way that you interact with people here. I'm new to this whole thing. I don't know the whole history of it, but the little bit that I have seen, I started out trying to be very open, and I've emailed every single person. All of my emails have been to all of you. Everything has been open and fully transparent. I have yet to receive any response from Mr. Jednak, and I am picking on you a little bit here because you are the council president and you've been getting the most. So in essence, I'm actually trying to help you and help the town in doing so. If you really want to serve the town, listen, okay? I know that it's a huge battle and you lost the battle and that sucks for you. I'm sorry, but you have to listen. Our interim mayor, Salberg, I don't know him. First time I'm seeing him tonight. But he spoke very respectfully. He addressed your response, your email to him about trying to move the meeting. You seem so caught up in your rules and regulations that you cannot see through the forest through the trees. The people here want to be heard. Forget the regulations for a minute. Just listen, okay? You had a protocol in place. Bravo. Did you talk to anybody about that protocol? Does it really make sense? Does the seniors really want to be sitting out there or in their cars watching a video? I came that Friday night meeting for the first time because 10:30 meeting, what the heck, okay? So I came and I stood out there and I was not allowed in. It was, I was a little bit late because I had to find parking all the way across town, and walk up here, so I was late. I didn't know there was a list that you had to sign in on to be able to speak. So I sat out there the whole time thinking, I'll get in and I'll say my piece. No such luck, okay? That's the way it goes. Now I know, get here early, whatever. But, it's just little things, common sense. Think about the people you are supposed to be serving. The idea of setting it to a school, is there a problem with that? It would allow all these people to come in and take part in the meeting. That's what you kind of said you wanted to do. You wanted to allow open public discourse. So has that changed? Or maybe I don't really know what you're thinking. But as I said, speaking respectfully, break the rules. If someone has a question, allow the question to be asked. Have some interaction. That is how problems are solved. We obviously have a lot of problems. And, whether you admit it or not, you're kind of at the heart of it. So you have the power to change it. And you being the one to say, okay, I'm going to be a bigger man, and I'm going to say, okay, this is not the rule, but okay, Mr. Puzio, go ahead. What is your issue? That's my lecture on that. Now, the only thing I have to say as far as, functional things here is maybe we need to come up with a motion or a resolution or an order. I don't know all the legal terms. But there are questions asked. Specifically at the last meeting, I had a very particular question asked.
You're fine.
Oh, my time is up. Well, maybe I'll send it in an email and maybe I'll get a response.
Next on the list is Joe Rake. Please state your name and address for the record. Joe Rake.
I think my name is Joe Rake. I live at 56. I
don't remember either.
Yeah, I can't.
Comanche.
I'm thinking about the road rally that I have to go through to get to our meetings, and how I'm going to be notified when this meeting gets changed to a different venue again. And I'd like to have your response as to where I'm supposed to look, how am I supposed to know where the meeting is, so I don't have to go to 20 different places in this town to go and find this meeting. Okay, that's one. Item number 2. I congratulate the mayor and the attorney. Welcome back. And the judge's ruling. And I got my sample ballot and I opened it up at this meeting. And I see that there's a slot for mayor on this ballot. But I don't see anything about recall. I'd like to know what happened about the recall and why there's no recall on here to get rid of the council president. It's too bad you don't know my name is Joe Raish. I really am upset about that. So I'm looking for your response. I'm short and sweet. Get right to the point. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with respect from the council.
Thank you for your comments. Next on the list is Patrick Dio. Please state your name and address for the record. No, Patrick Dio is next on the list. No, you're next on the list. But just stay right where you are. I think Mr. Dio has left, so please approach the podium.
You want me to go now?
Please.
Okay.
Please state your name and address.
Patrick Egan, 59 Lennox Road, Rockaway. First, Councilman Palumbo, if you're still there, our thoughts and prayers are with your son. Regardless of everything that goes on here, this township rallies around its people, and our thoughts are with your son. So hopefully everything's okay. Welcome back. Welcome. The Giants are playing tonight, so I'm going to try to make this quick. I'm going to ask a rhetorical question because I don't really expect a response because all the other questions that have been asked haven't really been responses. So Mr. Council President and all the members of the council, this is for everybody, so I want you guys to listen too. This is not just for the majority. I come with this rhetorical question this evening, or several. For each of you, I want you to think of your political epitaph. Okay, just think for a minute. What is that you want the people of Rockaway to remember your political service for versus what will they remember? Will you be remembered as someone who is contributing to the building and preservation of Rockaway and making it a better place, or will you be remembered as someone who negatively impacted this town? Will you be remembered as someone who served the people of Rockaway? Or will you be remembered as someone who put their own needs first, both personal and political, with total disregard for the people served? Will you be remembered as someone who gave? Or will you be remembered as someone who took? Will you be remembered as someone who put aside political parties at your own expense? Or will you be remembered as someone who took political sides regardless of the good it did for the town? Will you be remembered as a friend of the people or a foe of the people? And for the story of Rockaway this past year, will you be remembered as the protagonist at the center of this story, one who makes key decisions and provides experiences and consequences for the good? Or will you be remembered as the antagonist, a person who actively opposes or is hostile and is an adversary? Or will you be remembered at all? Exactly.
We know how Mayor Mike Datchison epitaph reads. Unfortunately, it came all too soon. But Mr. Council President and Council Majority, I leave you with this, and perhaps this sums up your political service to Rockaway. Now, this is a multimedia presentation, so bear with me here. Thank you.
The meeting is now closed to the public. With regard to Mr. Ilardi's concerns about Hibernian West, and White Meadow Road, refer those to the administration for follow-up. He had a question about downspouts into storm drains. Is that something that the administration can answer tonight? Is it legal to...
I'll defer to the engineer.
Thank you. In accordance with the New Jersey DEP stormwater management rules and our NJPD's permit, our discharge permit, we are encouraged to have overland flow and to restore our groundwater. But there are occasions where we will work with the homeowner and with DPW in the cases of icing or safety concerns, which we would reroute them into a stormwater basin. Yes.
And the one that has the conflict with that issue, that's permission?
I'm not sure what you're speaking of.
Yeah, the repair basin that they did the repair for that connection in there too, Mr. Ilardi. I witnessed it, I saw it myself in discussion.
Mr. Kelly, if you would grab the nearest microphone to answer that.
There was a rebuilding of those basins that were there by the township and the project that was behind there where they attached everything to the catch basins at that time. So, I mean, I saw it myself as well. And they have, they go there on once a month of a period of time to clean those basins out and monitor them. There's one right now behind that property that's subject, which is the 141 Elm Street. Behind that is 138 Birch Street, and they have an actual surface discharge. I think Mrs. Ferrante can confirm, and the DPW is going to get that surface discharge because when it comes out of the sump pump from the house behind the subject property, that's the concern. It is dumping all over onto their property, which is not lawful under our code. But because of the easement, which is technically the woman's property, however, the township has a section of land to address the sewer and whatnot, they are going to tie that surface discharge into that catch basin now to minimize the subsurface discharge and flooding that backyard property of 141 Elm Street. And again, I was there, witnessed it, part of the conversation.
Mr. Rish's question about how to know where meetings are. On the township's website, there's a section on the left that says Township Council. If you click on that, it will take you to a page that has on it a meeting schedule for the entire year. If you click on that link, it'll show you the meeting schedule adopted at the reorg meeting every year. Those meetings are also placed on the township's calendar, which is on the township's website. And that's on the right-hand side of the website if you're looking at it. And any special meetings are also placed on that calendar as well. Minutes are drafted and then presented to the council and then placed for a vote on the agenda. Once they are placed on the agenda and voted upon, they are then published on the town's website. Mr. Mariani's claim that the clerk was fired, as I stated at a previous meeting, I think multiple meetings, no one that I'm aware of has been fired. Certainly not anyone has been, no one has been fired by the council this calendar year. The question by Mr. Waters about the library, I will ask the clerk to ask whether there is supposed to be any kind of posting in the library or not.
Then I open at 10:30. It's on the agenda.
That is the end of the questions. Is there a motion to? Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Motion by Abrahamson. Is there a second? Second by Kelly. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn. Councilmember Freelander.
And you seconded your compliant. or whatever that word is.
Who are you paying?
Can you answer the question before we adjourn?
We are
You're not
voting.
finished.
We are voting.
Why would
You can vote or not vote.
No.
We're not
Councilmember
gonna pay
Fuzio.
Jeremy.
No.
Guys are just sitting in the back seat.
Councilmember Palumbo.
Bank robbery.
We're not paying.
Councilmember Smith.
Why not?
Councilmember Sackett.
No.
Councilmember Kelly.
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson. President Jedenack.
Yes. Motion passes, meeting adjourned.
You tried it to the bank robbery. Howard.